This is the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show on Lansing's Big Talker, 1240 WJIM and Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ. Brought to you by Whitelaw PLLC, Shaheen Chevrolet, Price Right Auto and RV, Blue Moon Belgian White. On Lansing's Big Talker, 1240 WJIM, Lansing. This is the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show on Lansing's Big Talker, 1240 WJIM, Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ, and special game day edition of The Game, 7:30 a.m. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Whitelaw PLLC, Shaheen Chevrolet, Price Right Auto and RV, Blue Moon Belgian White, the official craft beer of MSU Athletics, and MSU Healthcare. And now, let's talk to the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, offensive-minded host, Beanie Howell, and a special guest appearance from David, the Mad Dog DeMarco, from the Price Right Auto and RV Studios.
Welcome back to the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show, special homecoming edition on 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker, Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ, and the game 7:30 a.m. live from the Price Right RV mobile studio at the southwest corner of Spartan Stadium. Also brought to you by Blue Moon Belgian White, Dart Bank Mortgage Joe Sambear, Ameriprise Financial Craig Stiles, DBI We Do Office, High Caliber Karting and Entertainment, the Student Bookstore, the Nut House, Gazelle Wealth Management, and Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac. And speaking of Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac, we're joined now by Ralph Shaheen from Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac, as well as Jason Cords. Guys, thanks for being here, and thanks for your support all year on the Tailgate Show, first and foremost.
Well, thanks for the invitation. We're so happy to be here.
Absolutely. I think everybody knows Shaheen Chevrolet. Everyone in this area, anyone listening to this knows, and we've seen the commercials. And you guys are big football guys, right?
We love it. We've been here. We've been doing this for 50 years, coming to the tailgates and the games, and it's just been an honor and a privilege and a lot of fun besides.
I've long said I would love to have the airtime these two guys get. They're the most well-known faces in town because they are on every program, every show. Because they got Cadillacs to sell, they have used cars to sell. They all have all kinds of deals. I told Jason I was just in the service bay the other day getting the oil changed, and I mean it was like an assembly line making cars, getting them through there. That campus is beautiful.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate that.
I don't know who designed that. Did you design
Me, of course.
Did you design
Absolutely.
that? I mean, when you got two dealerships plus the service bay plus all the used car areas, it makes Channel 10 look nicer than maybe it otherwise would have looked.
We love Channel 10 as our neighbor. You guys are great. And it's just been a pleasure being affiliated with you.
But your whole life has been around this area and following Michigan State in a variety of different ways, supporting the university. Fair to say?
Well, I graduated from Michigan State a long time ago, 1972, and it's just been wonderful to be able to stay here, support the university, go to the events, not just sporting events, but the Wharton Center and a lot of other things, and it's just been wonderful.
And how long have you and Jason been together, and how did that relationship to begin in the first place? And by the way, he's got a microphone here. Jason just got to turn it around. That thing looks like it was made in 1850, but we value it greatly. So there you go. You got
Jason and I have been together for 23 years. He's like my son. I wish he had a mustache, though. That'd be the only thing. We'd talk him into growing a mustache.
Well, a lot has happened in automotive in 23 years, hasn't it?
It sure has.
A lot has happened in automotive.
It's been a real transition here. We were looking at a lot of electric, hybrids, and different things, and it's evolving.
Are you from this area, Jace? Hey, take time. Hold on, put this one on. Is that the antique one we only give to Mad Dog? That's the only one. We give it to him and nobody else, the whole deal. But there's just so much change in automotive almost every single day. But it looks like cars are selling and people are buying. And in the last year, there was such a dearth of used cars. But when I look at your lot, I see used cars coming and going over there all the time.
Well, we turn them real fast. We have a saying, you get a better used car because you get a better used car deal because you get a better used car. And we recondition all our cars and try to make them the very best we can.
Yeah. Well, Jason, are you?
I'm live, Tim. So.
Are you from this area?
I grew up in Corunna.
That's
actually
from this area.
Lived in Owasso, moved over here 20-some years ago, and I live in Langsburg now. And kids went to Langsburg, and it's just been a great venture with Ralph, and just very proud. We're creeping up on the whole Shaheen Auto Group has almost 500 employees. So
when I heard that, I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
Because I heard Ralph say that one day when you were in on the radio, when you were in, doing some new commercials or whatever, when I said they've got 500 employees. Has labor been an issue after COVID or not?
Well, it's always been an issue. We're very picky on who we select to be on our team. And so, we do a lot of screening and that kind of thing. So we have a level that we want to keep, and so many are called, but few are chosen.
So, Jace, does your responsibility include Cadillac besides Chevrolet? Is it both, not just one?
yeah, it's the whole campus, and we also have a northern parts location up in Freeland that we've got roughly 23 employees up there. But ultimately, it's our whole campus plus MLK with our reconditioning. We've got such a large body shop and wholesale parts division, and we have taken the number one position in Michigan for GM parts. So.
Are you still playing hockey?
Yes, sir. Play Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays.
Did you go last night?
I was out of town last night, went to South Dakota on a little bird hunt, so
Really?
didn't get back in time for that.
Have you seen Munn Arena since it's been redone?
I absolutely have. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So you've been playing hockey for almost your
I
entire
started when I
life.
was 35
Because
years
Ron
old.
Mason got you into it.
Ron and I were real good buddies, and one day I asked him if I could try this, and he said, sure, come on in, we'll get you equipment and try this. And first day out, I was skating with a kid named Mitch Messier and fell and broke my collarbone.
So, Jace, do you like hockey the way he does?
Absolutely not.
So here's the funny part of this. So last night, Rick Comley's a pretty good friend, and he was in town last night with the team from 2007. It was their 15th anniversary. So we hadn't seen it. He's the athletic director at Northern Michigan University now.
I didn't know that.
They
That's good for
hired
him.
They lost their guy to Duluth, and he's at some cherry festival this summer with his wife, and the phone rings. And it's Northern Michigan. Would you be interested in being interim athletic director? And he never asked another word. He said, yeah, put me down for it. I'll be there Monday. And that was the end of he didn't know any deals. Well, now it's a 3-year commitment. Okay, so anyway, so he's in with his family last night. So we sat in one of the booths and watched the game last night. So I asked him, I said, what do you think of Munn Arena and the London? But the classic is that those 3 bronze busts in there. He's right. They really, in our opinion, don't look like Ron Mason.
No.
Don't look like, they don't look like Rick. And the other one, I can't even tell whether that's Amo or who the third one is at all.
I don't know who does those, but even if you go into the Breslin, to the Hall of Fame in Breslin, the wax statue of Tom does not look like Tom.
Does not look like Tom. And it started with the statue of Irvin. Because Irvin, I don't know who that's supposed to be.
Okay, Tom and Irvin don't look alike.
No, they
Just
don't.
saying.
But the statue outside Breslin of Irvin, when that was first
No,
put in,
it does not.
and when then they pulled the sheet off, I always looked at Irvin's expression because I don't think he thought that looked like him either.
No.
It's a nice gesture. It's a nice gesture. But anyway, huh? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think it does look like Morgan Freeman. And I've heard that before. So at any rate, so what's around the corner for Shaheen Chevy Cadillac around the corner in 2023? What are you thinking about?
Well, first of all, on Wednesday we're having a grand opening lyric reveal. We've got a new lyric going to be at the dealership. We're sending out invitations to people to come in and see the new lyric. And that'll be a lot of fun. And then we're doing, because of COVID, that we couldn't do a grand opening when we opened up the Cadillac facility. And now we're going to have a little celebration of the new facility.
Good for you. Is that for the public? I mean, is that anybody to stop by?
It's by invitation. But if you need an invitation, you want to come, give us a call.
All right.
We'll be happy to get you on the list.
And Jace, one other thing. Jace just said you got a couple of new Corvettes in this. I knew if anything was going to be delivered in town, it's being delivered to Shaheen Chevy Cadillac. And his wife's got the white one. And I saw a couple of white ones in town. I think that's the most spectacular Corvette they've ever built.
It's a beautiful car, Tim. And I'll tell you, not only is it good looking, but it's such a great driving car. And it's been probably 30 years since I've had a Corvette, and to be able to drive one for a little while and just experience it, to be able to sell them and talk about it, it's just been such a pleasure.
And those guys who bought them only had to wait 3 months to get them out of Kentucky, right?
Yeah, it's depending on what options you get on it.
Right.
But ultimately, if you're looking for a 70th anniversary or a Z06, they're very tough to get. But run-of-the-mill, 2LT, 3LT.
Well, I call the guys, and if you need anything. Say, guys, thanks for stopping. Like Beanie said, the support for everything you guys do in town is magnificent, and I can only speak for the company, both of them. Thank you a great deal. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
You both look good. Have another 23 good years together and all that good stuff.
There you go.
I'm sure we will. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you guys all get along with each other and all that. All right, very good.
All right.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. What else we got? Do you have the latest video? You got scores there at all? If you got scores at all, throw ahead, because the last I saw, Michigan was 6-0.
Yeah, let's do a few scores right before. Good idea, Tim.
All right, because I
in Ann Arbor.
Thanks, Jay. See you later.
We're about halfway through the second quarter. Number 5 Michigan leads Penn State 6-0. A couple of field goals. Elsewhere around the country, we will go to Ole Miss, where the Rebels, number 9 Rebels, are up 21-0 over Auburn.
I think they're good. They are good.
They play Alabama next week.
I mean, in the SEC this year, there's about 5 or 6 of those teams that I think are really, really good.
One more before we get out. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
Last one before we get out for this break. Number 24 Illinois, maybe the surprise of the year in the Big Ten, has a 3-point lead over Minnesota and Champaign-Urbana, 10-7, about 8 minutes till halftime there.
Now, I've got Minnesota winning that game after a bye week last week, but you remember, now Michigan State's got to go to Illinois the week after the Michigan game, 3 weeks from today. So, I mean, it's Wisconsin today, bye week for both Michigan and Michigan State next week. Then State goes to Illinois November 5th. This is the last home game for 4 weeks. There are only 2 left after today.
That's right.
So bring them luck today, because they got Rutgers and Indiana coming in. Or if you think tickets might be available today, they might be available for those 2 as well. Who knows what it'll be like 4 weeks from today around here.
You're listening to the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show on 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker, Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ, and the game 7:30 a.m. Back after these words.
Do you want Solar?
This is the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show on Lansing's Big Talker, 1240 WJIM, Lansing.
Lansing's Classic Rock, 94.9 WMMQ FM, East Lansing.
Game, 7:30 a.m. WVFM, East Lansing. Town Square Media Stations.
The Student Bookstore is
The 1240 WJIM Traffic Center. Driven by Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac. Relax and enjoy the Shaheen difference.
Taking a look at your traffic right now, things are looking pretty good right now. A little bit slower than normal coming in from the west side, 496 going eastbound between Waverly Road and Martin Luther King Boulevard. That's where that road closure begins and will last for another 3 or 4 weeks or so. The interchange at 496 and 127, 496 westbound at 127 northbound, that's very slow at this time. If you're coming in from the east, Grand River Avenue between Mohawk Road and Cornell Road in Okemos, right by Meridian Mall, single-lane closure. That's for another couple of weeks. And just west of there, Okemos Road is still closed at Grand River. That's due to construction. That's for another couple of weeks. Take the posted detours in both instances. Right now, mostly sunny skies. Well, partly sunny skies, 46 degrees. It's going to be mostly sunny and get into the low 50s when we get to game time. Winds out of the west, 16 miles an hour, gusting as high as 25 miles an hour. That's your game day travel update, and it's brought to you by Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac. Relax and enjoy the Shaheen difference.
This is the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show on Lansing's Big Talker, 1240 WJIM, Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ, and special game day edition of The Game, 7:30 a.m. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Whitelaw PLLC, Shaheen Chevrolet, Price Right Auto and RV, Blue Moon Belgian White, the official craft beer of MSU Athletics, and MSU Healthcare. Now, let's talk to the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, offensive-minded host, Beanie Howell, and a special guest appearance from David, the Mad Dog DeMarco, from the Price Right Auto and RV Studios.
Welcome back to the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show, a special homecoming edition here at the southwest corner of Spartan Stadium, the Price Right RV Mobile Studios. Also brought to you by Blue Moon Belgian White. Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac, MSU Healthcare Sports Medicine, Doubting Industries, Schupan & Sons Recycling Industrial Services, Gravity Smokehouse, and MSU Federal Credit Union. Well, Dave DeMarco is here back by popular demand. Thanks for being here, Dave. It's good
You're
to see
welcome.
you and hear your voice again.
We love our sponsors. Always love our sponsors. Want to thank them for their loyalty and their just being good business people. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our sponsors. Chris Solari is here, and Chris, you've been covering Michigan State athletics for quite some time. Lansing State Journal, Detroit Free Press. You graduated from Michigan State. You've been all over the place. So, in a nutshell, with the injuries and the way things are going into this homecoming game, your thoughts?
Boy, that's a tough question.
It is a very tough question.
I think the injuries, you can't look at this team and look down the middle of that defense with the injuries to Darius Snow and Xavier Henderson and Jacob Slade. I mean, those are three of the best players on that team, and Snow in particular was a guy I thought would correct a lot of the pass defense problems by moving into linebacker and giving coverage and speed and space, and then you lose them halfway through the first game. They don't really have another Darius Snow on that roster. So it's been a lot of mixing and matching. The back end, I mean, the injury last week to Jaden Mangum, he looked like he was coming on as a potential player. Now you're going to go into this game most likely against Wisconsin with two guys who have made an impact in Justin White and Kendall Brooks, but also two guys who arrived in 2020 via the transfer portal from Division II schools. What you look at in college football now, that's a leap of essentially like 3 jumps. You got you got Division II, then the football championship subdivision, then the group of 5, and now you're playing the back end of the Power 5 conference in the secondary. I mean, that's, credit those guys because I think White's got a lot of speed, and I think Brooks has shown the ability to hit. And they've earned their time, but they also, coming into camp, were guys that were second, third stringers.
Hey, let me ask you about that. Maybe we can get a little Detroit Free Press breaking news here. Because last week, 2 guys that they've been missing since either week 1 or week 2 dressed but didn't play, in Xavier Henderson, the team leader in safety, and also Jacob Slade, who's one of the best defensive tackles in this league. Are they going to go today?
I don't know. And, I think it's something to keep in mind about that is that's likely the last home game that those guys had against their home state team. They're both Ohio guys.
Yeah.
And, watching them you could tell they were significantly limited even going through the stuff last week. But I know Mel Tucker said they've been progressing. So, I guess it's, what they need is to see if they can go. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And if you see them out there on the field, maybe they don't start, but maybe they're getting to the point where they're able to take some snaps and kind of work back into it. You also have the bye week coming up next week, so do you really want to try and get them, if they're not 100%, you want to put them in harm's way?
Good point.
I want to ask him, not to cut in, I want to ask him offensively. I mean, defensively, we know the situation. There's no getting around. Mel Tucker's taking a lot of high octane for all this stuff. But guys are injured, but it's the guys that they brought in. What about Peyton Thorne? Your thoughts on his play this season, if he's hurt, if he's played hurt, the offensive line. He's got some good cheese in the NIL. I don't think he throws the football as good as I thought he would. Noah Kim is another guy. You and I talked about him when Ralph was on. So just talk about this quarterback situation, a guy that can really take over. Can he bounce back in a game like this today?
Well, this is one of those situations where you look at it and it's wholly dependent on what the offensive line does, right? I mean, there is no run game at this point. So all the things that you watched last year with the flea flickers that worked, and Thorne getting out on the move in RPOs, that was all predicated on having Kenneth Walker doing a lot of the things that he did. Now, Thorne takes a big shot in the Western game, and I asked him about this week, and this is how it came out. I said, you haven't been running as much, and are you trying to pick and choose it? Are the lanes not there? And that's when he said he was hurt, and he wasn't didn't have the speed to the edge, didn't have the same mobility that he's had a year ago, which, again, when you're already struggling to run, that changes the dynamic as well, because defenses can just basically tee up, sit and wait. And you saw that in the Akron game.
Right.
A couple times where they just brought delayed blitzes, and particularly when they tried the flea flicker at the beginning of the second half. And that was another shot that he took to the ribs. It ended up being an interception, but, that was, that had to, you're in that position. You got to try and throw the ball downfield there. It's got to go back to the offensive line now. You've got to get a push up front. You've got to be able, because he's been sacked 8 times in this losing streak. And if you've already been banged up since week 1 and you're getting hit 8 times, 4 times last week, it's going to be dangerous. And the Noah Kim situation is one that I think people are looking at the numbers and not necessarily looking at what's happening there, because Kim's come in at the end of the third quarter, pretty much fourth quarter. Games have been out of hand.
Right.
The opponents have played their second and third string.
No, that's a good point.
The opponents have played their second and third string defenses and playing soft coverage, but more importantly, MSU's still rolling their number 1 offensive line out there with him. So it's not like he's going 2s, and you're seeing the number 1 offensive line against the number 2s and 3s.
But he has a cool tattoo sleeve.
Hey, listen, he's played well.
You know how he got here, Brandon. You know how Kim got here, right? You know why and how he played
brother?
for D'Antonio's brother in high school in Virginia, and he was going to go to. He was all set to go to
his high school. He knew him.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he did. He was all set to go to Vatech, and then he transferred, or not transferred. He changed his commitment here. You make a good point though about the second string, third string, other teams, but still.
It still all comes. Again.
And what about the run game?
But that's the thing is Noah Kim's sitting there and has clean pockets and plenty of time to throw because you've got your number 1 offensive line. They've only gone 6 deep on the offensive line. Brandon Baldwin got the first start at left tackle, but has been out of the rotation. So the only guy that's come off the bench is Brian Green.
So let me ask you
back
this:
and forth.
The Washington State transfer.
Yeah.
Why
they brought in from the portal? Who Matt Carrick has been starting ahead of him.
So let me ask you this: so their success a lot last year. Everybody said this, whether you're media, non-media, alumnus, former player. It was a Kenneth Walker, the third. The magnitude he brought to this team of his excellence as a runner. Did he make other people look good? Did other people play harder because he was there? Do you think that is something that is fictitious, or is there a lot to that?
Brandon, we've talked about this. Kenneth Walker, by week 2 or 3, had 9 sets of eyes in the defense on him a year ago, which, again, that's less eyes on Jaden Reed, less eyes on Jalen Naylor, less eyes on Peyton Thorne and everybody else. Mosley's had a pretty solid year last year and this year. I think he's been,
I like him a lot.
But you take that out now, and where do those 9 sets of eyes go? Because they're not going on the running backs because Berger and Broussard have struggled.
Yeah.
Partly them, partly the offensive line. Now it's all on Thorne, so you've got 7-8 sets of eyes on Thorne.
Yeah.
So you've got, obviously he becomes the focus of the team. So there's, when Mel Tucker talks about complementary football, a year ago Kenneth Walker allowed everybody else to do what they were doing because so much was focused on him. You take that out now, and you're not seeing that. You're not seeing the blocking. You're not seeing the yards in the run game, and it's one of the more interesting stats. So they're in a 4-game losing streak, and the last 4 games. On 47 carries, Berger and Broussard have combined for 131 yards.
Yeah, why doesn't Collins? What I said this.
Collins has run well.
What's the situation with him?
We don't know because we've asked multiple times about it.
What does he say?
It seemed like it was pointing towards him getting more carries.
Yeah, they did
the Ohio
say
State
that.
game, and he didn't. Now, some of that was the fact that they were behind pretty big early and they had to throw the ball, and I think that's a big part of this, where the run game is as well, is they're getting behind because of the defense, which is also because the offense isn't sustaining drives.
I'm so glad you said that.
All things just
14-13, Penn State.
It's the opposite of complementary football. It's whatever the opposite is, because we've spent so much time on the defense, but also the offense has really hurt the defense, going 3 and out. They're bottom third of the country in time of possession. That defense isn't good enough to be on the field for 40 minutes a game.
Like Tim said, that's why the punter's the best punter in the country. He's on the field more than anybody.
That's the thing you're going to see here with what Wisconsin's going to try to do. They've got the bodies up front. They've got the run game in Braylon Allen. All you got to do is watch the blueprint of what Minnesota did. Minnesota just ground them to a pulp. It was 42 minutes of possession time.
Let's talk about that real quick. Chris Solari, Detroit Free Press beat writer covering Michigan State. You all know him. So one thing that really jumped out at me of that game, and I know it did for you too, was when Jacoby Windman said afterwards, oh, they came out throwing the ball, Minnesota did. We weren't really prepared for that. We weren't expecting that. So obviously, we've talked the talent issue in this team. But I just feel like it shouldn't be this bad, right? Like, the coaches are not doing a great job, especially when the players are coming out saying, we didn't expect them to throw on us, even though we're the worst passing defense over the last season and a half.
He wasn't the only defensive player that said that.
So what the hell's going on?
It's a good question. I mean, there comes a time, and I think Mel Tucker's been asked about his coaches. He's been asked about, he's steadfast behind them. I think that's, he's standing behind the scheme. Is basically what it is. Without saying it between the lines, we need the players to run the scheme that we're going to run. But the story I wrote today in the Free Press, 69% of the players on the roster is 110 guys. 69.1% are Mel Tucker's guys. I mean, and now that's it goes to the question: did D'Antonio leave the cupboard bare? Is it? I think some of it's that. Some of it's there's been misses in the transfer portal. Some of it's Some of it is what exactly is the transfer portal. It's not meant to be plucking Kenneth Walkers off every year. Right. It's meant to have depth guys. It's meant to have the Kendall Brooks and Justin Whites to give you deeper back ends of your depth chart. But now with that, they're being forced into it. I mean, but to say that it's all D'Antonio's guys. I mean, I think there's 30. Let me find the number here because I did a deep dive. 34 D'Antonio players left, and Tucker's got 53 high school or junior college players and 23 college transfers on the roster. So that's 76 guys of the 110 are guys that Mel Tucker brought in.
But something else though, like we got to talk
the younger guys. I mean, I think it's interesting on the offensive line. You look at guys like Kevin Jarvis and J.D. Duplain. With more established offensive lines, they came in and played as true freshmen and redshirt freshmen. We haven't seen that from the guys that Mel Tucker has brought in the past 2 years in that offensive line.
But that's how it's supposed to be. You don't want an offensive lineman recruit playing until his third year on campus at earliest. And that's the point I was going to get to.
Yes and no. I mean, if they've got the talent to play, though, you can't keep them off the field. I mean, you saw it with Jarvis early in his career. Now, Jarvis was an interesting case because he had to bounce around so much because of injuries everywhere else, and then he got hurt. But when he came onto campus, he was starting almost right away.
Yeah. But I mean,
that's a guy, by the way, that they miss this year. If he doesn't leave, there are two guys I think that this team really missed that left. Jarvis going pro, he had another year of eligibility left, and Michael Dowell. He's down at Miami of Ohio. Those are two veteran, experienced guys that they could have used in key positions that you're seeing injuries and ineffectiveness right now.
But it takes time. Like you're mentioning, almost 70% of the roster is Tucker guys, but those guys are all in their second, maybe third year, and that first class was done over Zoom.
Yeah, but 23 of those guys are guys that have played multiple years of college football.
See, the thing is, everything you guys said is all factual. But the bottom line is, you're a fan, you're a season ticket holder, you want to see results.
Yeah,
okay?
Absolutely.
That's it. Okay, I don't need to go
I think Tucker knows that. Tucker absolutely knows that.
If he doesn't, he does. He's been around football, college football, pro football, his interim. He knows that. Okay, he's a young coach still, but he knows after what, outside influences with monetary means have helped him and his family, he knows that right now he's on the hot seat.
I wouldn't say that.
I don't mean to get let go, but I mean as far as for criticism, he's on a hot seat.
I'll give you that, and
okay?
I think that last year's success maybe didn't help that.
For sure.
For sure did.
Again, I mean, like I said, you don't go into the portal expecting to get a Kenneth Walker, but when you do, I mean, it skews the perspective.
It expedited expectations.
I mean, he had 1,636 yards, and more than 1,100 of those were after first contact.
I got one more stat, though, I want to throw in front of you, because we've done a good job going back and forth with all these stats. This one was from the Minnesota game that we talked about. Of all of the players that Michigan State played in that game for significant time, and I'm talking about before the Noah Kim touchdown drive, of all those players State put on the field on both sides and special team, only one was a consensus top 500 recruit out of high school. That's a problem. Keon Coleman, right.
Yeah.
That's an issue, man.
And he's a two-way he's a basketball player, too.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen. when your coach is getting paid that much. But again, it's not all his fault. He hasn't had enough time to bring these players through the program. But it shouldn't happen in a Big Ten program, period.
Yeah, so you want some more breakdown. I went through the guys who played last week. 58 guys played in the Ohio State game. 35 were Tucker guys, 19 recruited players, 16 transfers, and 23 were D'Antonio. 21 of his recruits, and 2 of them were transfers. But here's what you also have to know. D'Antonio's last couple classes that we've talked about between 2018 and 2020, do you know how many of those guys are left? 82 high school prospects that he signed in his final 3 classes, only 24 guys are left.
No, because they're all in the MAC. And that was the issue.
But that's still depth.
The starting quarterback transfers, and he can't get a sniff from a Power 5 school. He has to go to Northern Illinois.
That's still depth.
But that guy,
sure.
You don't even want to go into that area.
And
I do, Dave.
The one thing that
not with that quarterback.
You know what no one talks about? You know what no one ever talks about with the portal? Is the bond that college guys build from day one when they arrive on campus, and everything else that comes with the trials and tribulations of being on a team. When you're bringing guys in and interspersing them, how does that affect that what they love to call a brotherhood and bond that's built? I mean, it becomes mercenaries that are coming in that you get to know a little bit, but not the same effect. So
what the hell? The coaches are mercenaries.
It is. I'm telling you, it's a fascinating real-time watch at a lot of the things that are going on with the
Tim
portal.
will say this too. Look at the portal and how it's been advantageous to Saban. Okay, Ohio State's wide receiver, he ends up getting hurt in the championship game with the Lions. He comes from a great program, goes to a great program. Tyler Harrell, he leaves Georgia and goes to Alabama. Gibbs leaves Georgia.
Helps when you have the high school depth that you've already built.
No, and what he does is he has 5 Gulfstream jets go out every Friday night, and they see, and that's why you look at what's going on here. They just don't have the resources.
Right. They also aren't Noah's Ark of college football talent here. He's got 2 of everything, maybe 4 of everything.
I have a friend who lives in Georgia, and last night there was a game between 2 teams that had about 25 different Division I prospects. They said coaches were helicoptering in.
Kennesaw, Marietta, Ackworth, those areas out of Atlanta. Then you have the Dayton, Broward area in Florida. Listen, there's players out there.
There's players everywhere.
And the thing is, if a guy leaves Alabama, he's leaving Alabama because he's not wanted in Alabama. That doesn't mean he's a great football player. But he combed it. He got a golden nugget with Walker because Walker left under good situation in Wake Forest. They loved him there. But he wanted to be like Lorenzo White and get the football like he did, and he did.
And we got to leave it there, Chris.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Chris.
All right, boys.
Dave,
hang
on, because I think Dave wants to do the offensive keys right now.
We can do that.
Right before we get out for break. Here's Mad Dog.
Hang on.
Back by popular demand.
I have this pretty much skated down. Chris, it was great seeing you. Tell your family we said hello. All right, let me get this all set up. All right. 3, 2, 1. These are your offensive keys for today's ball game between the MSU Spartans and the Whiskey Badgers. Your O keys are brought to you by our friends at White Law PLC. I see Jamie White is here. He was here at White Law PLC. They use a team approach to solve their clients' legal issues. Call Jamie White and White Law PLC at 517-316-1195, 2595 Jolly Road, Suite 340 in Okemos, Michigan. These are your offensive keys. Score more points. How about that?
That'd be nice.
Because obviously MSU has struggled in that area offensively. This season has been an enigma, to say the least, for Mel Tucker and the MSU Spartans. I really believe MSU will give their best effort offensively today. So, this is the way today's homecoming ball game shapes up. Peyton Thorne has struggled all season long. If he does, pull him and put in Kim. You got to give him a chance. Thorne should go to his good friend Jaden Reed and go deep and utilize Reed, Mosley, and anyone else that can catch the football and score. The running game has smelled all season long. Give Collins a true shot. They haven't figured out who is that guy with Kenneth Walker III now in the NFL. Berger, Broussard haven't been effective. The O-line is marginal at best. I really believe homecoming can make a difference. But again, they're a homecoming dog. Offensively, they have to get the Whiskey Badgers early. Those are your offensive keys by White Law.
And this is the White Law PLLC Tailgate Show. Back after these words from our sponsors.
Shaheen Chevrolet.
1240 WJIM Traffic Center. Driven by Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac. Relax and enjoy the Shaheen difference.
Taking a look at your traffic once again, 496 eastbound between the Waverly Road exit and Martin Luther King. That's a bit slower than normal right now. That road closure is continuing between MLK and Penn for another few weeks or so. That's really the only one that's out there, but if you're coming in from the east, watch out on Grand River Avenue right by Meridian Mall, Mohawk Road and Cornell Road. That is, they've got a single-lane closure due to construction for another couple of weeks, and just west of there, it's Okemos Road. That's both directions at Grand River. That's closed for another few weeks. Take the posted detours in the area. Taking a look at your weather, sun trying to peek through right now, 48 degrees. It's going to be mostly sunny, high temperature in the low 50s, but it's going to be windy. Winds out of the west, 16 miles an hour, gusting as high as 25 miles an hour, so that will likely affect the game today. That's your travel update, and it's brought to you by Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac. Relax and enjoy the Shaheen difference.
This is the White Law PLLC Tailgate Show on Lansing's Big Talker, 1240 WJIM, Classic Rock, 94.9 MMQ, and special game day edition of The Game, 7:30 a.m. Today's broadcast is brought to you by White Law PLLC, Shaheen Chevrolet, Price Right Auto and RV, Blue Moon Belgian White, the official craft beer of MSU Athletics, and MSU Healthcare. And now, let's talk to the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, offensive-minded host, Beanie Howell, and a special guest appearance from David, the Mad Dog DeMarco, from the Price Right Auto and RV Studios.
Welcome back to the White Law PLLC Tailgate Show. You know, we have a ton of great sponsors here on the Tailgate Show, and one of them is MSU Healthcare. And being October and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we're so happy to have with us today Colleen Hoffman from MSU Healthcare. She's the radiology administrator. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Great as well, and thanks for being here and for the support of, and we appreciate the support of MSU Healthcare this football season here on the Tailgate Show. So, with it being October, a great time to talk about this, especially with MSU. Michigan State University's new joint venture with the McLaren Hospital on Collins Road, just south of campus and all that, the breast imaging center there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So talk started about 3 years ago for us to bring what McLaren does best with breast imaging and what MSU did best with breast imaging and put it all under one roof. So we've joined forces for the Breast Imaging Center. We're located in the Outpatient Care Center, which is just north of the hospital. So we're not in the hospital proper. And we're on the 3rd floor, and we're thrilled to be there.
And we're thrilled to have you there. What another great asset for the community, courtesy of MSU and McLaren. Obviously, a great new asset, the Breast Cancer Imaging Center at the new McLaren Hospital, working with MSU, but that's not all there is, right? There's more on the way.
There is. If anybody driving by the hospital or who's been out that way will notice on the south side there's construction going up. That is going to be a medical service building where we're going to have a all-inclusive imaging facility. We're going to provide MRI scans, PET scan, CT, general X-ray, floral, and ultrasound. So instead of having to go into the hospital to get your study, you can go into an outpatient, which is on the south side of the hospital. It will be known as MSU Healthcare at McLaren. We're very excited. We're going to get all brand new equipment. It's going to be great for the community.
So with that in mind, obviously, everybody is familiar with Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Every October, we see pink everywhere, and that's great. And it's always, it seems like it's getting bigger every year, right? And it's more pervasive. We're seeing more and more pink throughout, whether it's football season or on the highways, on the billboards, which is a great thing. But what do you think is the main takeaway from breast cancer awareness? Because sometimes maybe all these commercials and ads, the real message gets lost in the fuzz a little bit, right?
Right. Well, I think in today's environment, women need to take care of themselves. And we're sometimes the last thing that we think of between taking care of husbands and kids and jobs. But we really do need to be proactive in our own health. And we need to follow the recommendations of our healthcare providers. And we need to listen to our bodies. And we need to take that moment to get our mammograms. And we also need to take that moment when you're with a group of friends to mention it and have it be a topic of conversation.
So speaking of mammograms, I think that's what most people associate being proactive about breast cancer means. But there's a ton of other services available at the new Breast Cancer Imaging Center at the joint venture between MSU and McLaren at the new McLaren Hospital, isn't there?
There is. So not only do we do imaging there of the breast, we do mammograms, we do ultrasounds, we do biopsies if they're needed. We also do bone density scans to help women know how many minerals they have in their bones and to be proactive if they need to change their diet, if they need to exercise more, or if they do need medical intervention so that as they age, their bones stay sturdy. We also have a embedded breast clinic that is manned by surgeons that if women have something that is found on a mammogram and it needs to be investigated further with a biopsy, you can do everything all in one roof. You don't need to go all around town to find different places to go or find a surgeon here and drive over there. McLaren and MSU have created an environment that's inclusive for you so you can get everything under one roof.
Yeah, what a great new asset to the community, and especially, health always at the fore of everyone's minds. But as we talked about with breast cancer, it's all about proactivity and awareness. So in that vein, let's talk about that a little bit because I'm not a woman, but I've seen the messaging about this, and every commercial or ad I see always has some recommendation about women over X age should talk to their doctor about setting up screening. But that's not really that's not really a one-size-fits-all kind of solution, is it?
It's not. I think every woman is different depending upon your genetic background. At MSU Surgery, through MSU Healthcare, we do have a geneticist. And if your family members have cancer, you're more predisposed to getting it. So sometimes they want to start monitoring you earlier than what the recommendations say. And it's all dependent upon your family history, your own body, and we can help you with that. When you're younger, we don't really want to radiate you with mammograms, so we will use ultrasound and we'll use MRI, and we can screen your breasts that way. And then as you age, then they introduce the mammograms. And sometimes, depending upon your genetic predisposition, or your own history, they may have you do all three things at different time points throughout the year, so you're constantly being screened because early detection is what saves lives.
And that's what the new Breast Cancer Imaging Center at the new McLaren Hospital with MSU is doing, right? We're ultimately saving more lives. What a great new asset to the community, and we're so glad to have it. Just like we're glad to have you here today. So thank you again to Colleen Hoffman. She's the radiology administrator for MSU Healthcare, part of the venture between MSU and McLaren Hospital. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
The Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show, so happy to have so many great sponsors like MSU Healthcare Sports Medicine, but now we're joined by the eponymous sponsor of the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show. It's Jamie White of Whitelaw PLLC.
Yeah,
Dave, why don't you
Jamie White, Whitelaw PLC. This would not be possible if his law firm now, this is the third year that they have been a major sponsor for our tailgate. Good afternoon, Mr. White. You're on the Tailgate Show, your Tailgate Show. How are you?
I'm great, Dave. How are you, man?
This man is, Brandon, he is a solid sportsman, loves fishing, loves hunting, and just loves being a great attorney in his firm to help people out.
Yeah, one hell of a lawyer. I used to be a courts and cops reporter for MLive.com. I covered many of your cases. And then I remember we had him on one of my shows in the past when the Floyd Mayweather-Pacquiao fight kerfuffle went down, and you were representing people who, got a little screwed over by that. So
a lot of
very
people.
Familiar.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to work with you guys. And, this is a big day. A lot of people are coming back. I know you just retired, Dave.
Well, no, I didn't retire. What I did is I moved to another state, and I just sort of hung out. And I came back because it's homecoming, and I had to touch base a little bit with these guys because, the Mad Dog is the Mad Dog.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. But I can't thank you enough for your support of these tailgate shows, of MSU athletics, whether it be football, basketball. You're a true Spartan. People should be very proud of what you have accomplished. And, again, you have one of the top law firms not only in the mid-Michigan area but in the country. You're a court TV person, but most of all, you're a Spartan, and you're a positive Spartan under negative times. Why don't you talk a little bit about your thought pattern from watching Michigan State football from last year to this year?
Yeah, so I think we all had, a real sense of optimism based on what occurred last year. It was fun. It was great to watch. It was great to see Mel have some success. Obviously, it's not going as everybody had hoped for this year, but I think when you look at last year's season in some perspective, they were still dealing with a relatively decent recruits, but there weren't any 4 stars, 5 stars, and then they had the transfer portal. And when you look at that year, Dave, I mean, they won a couple games really by the skin of their teeth. And then they had Kenneth Walker in the mix. So it's like those variables are important to take into consideration. And I just hope people will keep this year in perspective because I think it's a program that's growing. I think Tucker's a great coach, and we just got to let this thing fester a little bit more.
Yeah, I believe it. Brandon, you can jump in here. Jamie White is our guest on the White Law PLC Tailgate show here live on campus, the only one that we're doing live, and I'm fortunate that I got an opportunity to come back and do this with Tim and Brandon and have really fine individuals like you join us. And whether it be a little bit chilly, but it's still pretty damn nice day. It's not raining, it's not ice, so it really. So Brandon, you had another life before you got into this radio thing again in your second tier, but you were a court reporter, so you covered a little bit. I didn't know that, so you just told Jamie that. Go ahead, talk a little bit about that.
Several of your cases, I can't remember them off the top of my
head,
but actually, you're wearing an MSU College of Law zip-up, right? So when you graduated, was it still the Detroit College of Law?
Yeah, you're aging me, Brandon.
Well, that's when I was there.
Yeah, no, but it was. I was actually the first graduating class in the year of 2000 here on campus. The building was still under construction, and it was still called the Detroit College of Law at Michigan State University. And, they've since obviously synchronized those two and it's become absorbed by Michigan State University.
Yeah, because it was the Detroit College of Law for the first 30 or so years that it was on campus?
Well, no, I think the Detroit College of Law had been around for a significant period of time, but once they merged with Michigan State to some degree, it probably took about 10 years for that moniker to fall off. A lot of good history there, a lot of great lawyers came out of it, but I think to Michigan State's benefit, they've been able to absorb that entity and create some great lawyers.
Yeah, and have its own full law college.
Exactly.
And I know it's still relatively young, and that's the problem, right? In the law college game, you're going up against a lot of these law schools that have been around for maybe 100-plus years. MSU's is younger, but every year I see it's getting better. It's getting bigger, higher profile, attracting more people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you got to be careful with those national ranking systems when it comes to graduate schools and that sort of thing. I to be honest with you, I don't even really look at people's grade point averages when I interview them or where they went to school. I'm more interested in their ability to communicate, and apply.
It's all about communication,
that's
man.
Right,
People forget about communication. When you have communication breakdown, you don't need Led Zeppelin to tell you, hey, communication breakdown, you got a problem.
Right.
Everybody's got to know left and right. Speaking of Jamie White, Jamie, we forged a great friendship, and what you've accomplished is pretty incredible. So I want you to tell people, because it's transitional in this area, if somebody's having some sort of situation legally that they have a question about, a coworker, a friend, a relative, tell people how they can get a hold of your firm, and like you always say, we'll go the extra length to you as a client. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the important thing is just whether it's me or whoever to get competent consultation from a reputable attorney. The internet, a lot of people are relying on that, but make sure you're reaching out in the community and finding out who is going to be competent to accomplish your problem. We're certainly available, Dave. whitelawplc.com. We love to work with people in the community. We love to work with you, and we're here to help folks if they need it.
All right, we will take a TO. I'll let Brandon take us out of here because he's steering this ship.
Well, thanks to Jamie White, of course.
I was going to say we want to thank Jamie White. We want to thank Jamie White for sponsoring these tailgates the last 3 years. He is a wonderful guy. His firm will go to bat for you. And he's a true Spartan, just a true, really good, special individual. And thank you, Mr. White.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you for your support of the Tailgate Show. And speaking of, it's the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show. Back after these words.
Don't let us for 1240 WJIM Traffic Center. Driven by Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac. Relax and enjoy the Shaheen difference.
496 eastbound still slower than normal between Waverly Road and the start of the road closure at Martin Luther King Boulevard. That road closure between MLK and Penn still going to be active until early November at the least. If you're coming in from the east side, coming in off of Grand River, well, probably going to have to find an alternate route. Because Grand River between Mohawk and Cornell Roads, single lane closure, that's for another couple of weeks. And just west of there, Okemos Road is closed at Grand River. Construction going on there. Take the posted detours in both instances. Right now, taking a look at the weather. Right now, sun's trying to peek through. It is 48 degrees right now. It's going to be mostly sunny when we get to game time. A high temperature in the low 50s. West winds right around 15 miles an hour or so. Gusting as high as 25 miles an hour. So that'll likely affect the game today. Your game day travel update is brought to you by Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac. Relax and enjoy the Shaheen difference.
This is the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show on Lansing's Big Talker, 1240 WJIM, Classic Rock, 94.9 MMQ, and special game day edition of The Game, 7:30 a.m. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Whitelaw PLLC, Shaheen Chevrolet, Price Right Auto and RV, Blue Moon Belgian White, the official craft beer of MSU Athletics, and MSU Healthcare. And now, let's talk to the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, offensive-minded host, Beanie Howell, and a special guest appearance from David, the Mad Dog DeMarco, from the Price Right Auto and RV Studios.
Welcome back to the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show, special homecoming edition on 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker, Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ, and the game 7:30 a.m. Coming to you live from the Price Right RV mobile studio, located just outside the southwest corner of Spartan Stadium. Come see us. Also brought to you by Blue Moon Belgian White, Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac, MSU Healthcare Sports Medicine, Doubting Industries, Schupan & Sons Recycling Industrial Services, Gravity Smokehouse, and MSU Federal Credit Union. Now it's time for our defensive keys. Here's the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt.
All right, today's defensive keys are brought to you by Gazelle Wealth Management. What's the one problem Michigan State has had in all these 4 losses? No pressure on the quarterback. Michigan State has not been able to get to these 4 quarterbacks in these 4 losses. I maintain Graham Mertz, the veteran quarterback for Wisconsin today, who had a big day last day at Northwestern. He had 5 touchdown passes in that game. However, I think if Michigan State can get any kind of pressure on him today and get him out of his rhythm, that is an enormous key more than anything else for them. Too many quarterbacks have had too many big days against Michigan State's secondary, and while the secondary gets a lot of criticism, much of it deserved, it's still a chance where quarterbacks on these other teams have had a chance to set up, and then deliver the ball, and certainly that was the case with C.J. Stroud of Ohio State last week. But nobody has ever gotten any kind of tough pressure on the quarterback. Now, whether Michigan State's got enough guys that can do it, or whether they got guys who can make those kind of plays today, I claim it's the number one defensive key to Michigan State having a chance to win today. Defensive keys have been brought to you by Gazelle Wealth Management. Gazelle takes a long-term view using prudent risk management. Call Joe Gazelle today at 336-7200, 336-7200, or visit Gazelle Wealth Management online at Gazelle Wealth, G-A-Z-A-L-L, GazelleWealth.com.
There you go, boys.
Thanks,
that was
Tim.
great. Joe Gazelle's a great guy, and thank him for the defensive keys. He's been sponsoring it for a long time, and of course Jamie White was just with us, and he sponsors the offensive keys, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for sponsors. And Tim Staudt can tell you it's all about the sponsors.
Yeah, I think this is a great event today because we've had so many different sponsors with us here today.
Yeah.
So that's been terrific all the way around. Absolutely,
it is.
Let's take a look at the top 25 scoreboard, guys, and let's
go
just
ahead.
kind of riff on those, okay? Just because we're up against time. So we'll go to the big one in the Big Ten right now in Ann Arbor. It's at halftime. Penn State had come back to take a 14-3 lead. It's 16-14 Michigan now at the half. The Wolverines kicking a field goal as time expired right before the second quarter ended. Moving into SEC country. You got anything to say on that? By the way? You surprised by that?
Michigan's got to get touchdowns. They've moved the ball, but they can't get into the end zone. I mean, they've had to kick 3 field goals. And by the way, it was 14-13. Not 14-3.
No, yeah, it was 14-13.
Yeah.
It was, Brad.
Did I say that?
Yeah, that's right. It was 14-13.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, so they kicked, but they've gone down there, but they haven't cashed in. So Penn State, who's given up a lot of yards in this game so far, but they're only 2 down.
Well,
okay,
I mean,
anybody's game in the second half.
They try to get Michigan as an upper echelon team in this country. Now they're playing a team that's given them some steam, and we'll see how it ends up. I just... You know, I know in this area, the SEC takes a lot of gas because they don't play these games in cold weather. But I'll tell you this: being down in SEC country now, the football players are down there. They just are, and they stay there. That's.
I don't blame them.
I don't blame them. After going there and being there for 5 months and coming back, I know why they stay there and why they. But you know, you look at Staudt came from Rancho Cucamonga, California, to Ohio State. Bryce Young is from Pasadena. I mean, Day has got football players. Nick gets football players. Kirby gets football players. They get them from all over the country because they've made it a draw for just a great program.
All right, before we move on from this game, you just got to think, like, the longer Penn State hangs around, especially with a veteran quarterback who's in, like, his 12th year or whatever.
He's been there a long time.
Yeah, the longer they stick around, they can cover.
That's
and I got Michigan minus 7.5.
It's like the late Skip Mackles used to say, it's not if you win,
it's whether
you cover.
That's exactly right.
Moving to Dave's now native SEC country, where number 9 Ole Miss has an 11-point lead over Auburn at the half, 28-17. Thoughts there? What do you guys make of Ole Miss? You believers?
Absolutely.
No, they have a good team, but
very good team.
They have a good team, but the bottom line is Auburn is down. They've been down. I know that because I'm down there with Auburn in Alabama. Ole Miss is a good team. They're getting better. And Mississippi State is a good team. And they're getting better with their head coach.
I think the SEC is light years ahead of the other 4
Power 5s.
It's not close.
Light
years. Nobody's close to the SEC.
Well, what about beyond the top tier? Don't you think the middle and rest of the SEC is commensurate?
Yes. No, it is.
Yeah, it's just
it is.
the ones at the top
No, it is.
so far.
But there are a lot of teams at the top tier.
You got Vanderbilt. You got, in Kentucky, they're better.
I don't buy Kentucky. Ole Miss took care of them.
They are, but they're better.
If you're playing another team in a league, and
I'm just not a believer in these basketball schools this year.
But I look at Ohio State, too, in the Big Ten, and what Ryan Day has done. You get quarterbacks, and it makes a difference.
Well,
Staudt, and then you have the wide receiving core. Travion is from Henderson. He's from Marietta, Georgia. That's what I'm saying. There's players all over this country.
SEC is the best league, but to me, Ohio State's good enough to win the national title.
No, they are. Absolutely. Not just watching them against Michigan State, but they are. They would give Alabama, Georgia all they want.
Well, I want to wish Iowa luck next week because they're going to the shoe.
Yeah.
Hey, before we move
off a week's rest for the Bucks.
Before we move on to this one, about Auburn. Is Deion Sanders the coach next season?
You know, a lot of stuff has been going on around. I mean, they had.
I don't see that.
He's waiting for Florida State to open. That might be open too.
No,
that would to me would make more sense.
He would go to Florida State, and he would bring a lot of great football players there because he's the GOAT.
He got the number 1 player to come to a historically black college,
Jackson State.
Yeah, FBS.
You know, I mean, he came there. I was in Jackson, Mississippi last April, and you look at Walter Payton came out of there. I'm not sure if Lem Barney came out of there, but I do know this. If he goes to Florida State, he'll make a difference.
All right, let's move on to the Big 12. Oklahoma, who's lost 3 games in a row.
Wait a minute. What about Minnesota, Illinois?
You want to go there next?
Oh, well, I was just saying you mentioned the Big Ten.
Sure, let's go there. Champaign-Urbana, where the Illini are up 20-14. The number 24 Illini are up 20-14 halfway through the third quarter. Surprise?
Well, the game's not over yet, and I picked Minnesota, but all I think about when I hear about Illinois is that Michigan State's got to play there the week after the Michigan game, and I usually think whether you win or lose the Michigan game, the next week's a letdown, and letting down at Illinois could be a tough time to do it this year. They got tough games left. That's why today, to me, is just so pivotal for them one way or the other. I mean, if they lose this today, to your points, earlier in the show today, batting it down, baby.
What is it now? I've talked to this gentleman.
20-14 Illinois halfway through the third quarter.
Well, I mean, Bielema, if he has success there, will he leave?
Big Ten Coach of the Year candidate?
For sure. Oh, absolutely.
No, yeah, he has to be up for that.
Do you realize if it weren't for one play that they're 6-0 right now, going for 7-0?
No.
And what would we be saying then?
I thought they gave away the Indiana game in overtime. They just gave it away.
Exactly.
So if Alvarez would have helped him out a little bit at Wisconsin, he still would be there.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, there's no getting around. He goes to Arkansas. Danny Enos is his offensive coordinator. It blew up in his face there. Then he was I don't know what he did with
Patriots.
with Belichick. He wanted to get back. He's a good coach, and thing is, when Kurt Ferentz, when has he done? Would he take over? He played at Iowa.
Yeah, that's true.
Would he go to take over for Kurt Ferentz?
I think that would make sense, and I think a lot of Iowa fans would like to have an offense that does more than punt.
Yeah, the punt. And, I mean, he's been there a long time. It's time for Ferentz to start thinking about that.
All right, let's move to the Big 12. Talking about basketball schools, Oklahoma's lost 3 in a row for the first time since, I don't know, maybe – Tim, can you remember Oklahoma ever losing 3 in a row?
Well, not after the start they got, because in prime time they went to Nebraska and won 49-7, and I know it's Nebraska, but on the other hand, Oklahoma really looked good that day. Although I liked Oklahoma big in this game because I think Kansas is on borrowed time. They're better than they used to be.
Right, they are.
But they finally lost last week to TCU, and Oklahoma going home is going to play a lot better than it has just on pride alone, and they were up that I saw 35-20.
Yeah, it's 35-21, but we also need to mention that Kansas is stud quarterback who's been excellent all year got hurt last week.
He got hurt. That's a big difference. But they are better.
They are.
That
coach is Lance Leipold is supposed to be the next Nebraska coach.
They
you
are
buy that. Because he has Nebraska. He was an assistant under Solich at Nebraska.
Maybe.
He also has Wisconsin ties in case they don't go the Jim Leonard.
They'll go Jim Leonard unless he gets blown out the rest of the season or he gets blown out today.
Yeah, but if he wants to help himself get that job, he has to win here today.
That's right.
Kansas, though, making a multi-million-dollar investment in a new football facility. They say they're being serious about football for the first time, maybe since Dr. Naismith invented the game down there.
Yeah, I saw that last week game day with Self, and how Self is even employed as a basketball coach is pretty hilarious. But
you mean the reigning national champion?
Yeah, the reigning. Yeah, reigning is a good word.
Hey, I'm not going to speak ill of Kansas. Did you guys know I'm a KU alum?
No, I know you are. Yeah, I've seen the documents.
So you know all about cheating.
Hey, all I'm going to say is, unlike allegedly many KU alumni, I was not compensated by Adidas to matriculated there.
All right.
Okay.
Moving on elsewhere in the Big 12.
Well, then you should have been.
Right. What was I doing?
I know, no kidding.
Too bad I can't shoot a basketball. Last one we'll look at in the top. This is the last top 25 action going on right now. It's at the half in Austin. Number 22, Texas, enjoying a 14-7 lead over Iowa State.
That's the best team in the Big 12.
Well, Sarkisian, listen, I believe this, guys. When they played Alabama, the second game, third game, whatever it was, if Ewers wouldn't have got hurt, they would have beat Alabama. I mean, Ewers is
ask Oklahoma about him because he came back last week.
Ewers is a really good. Well, that's why he had $1.2 million in NIL, and then Staudt beat him out. That's why he had gone to Texas.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that story for. No one talks about this, but this kid was like the top-rated player in the state of Texas. He commits to Ohio State and goes there for 1 year.
Yeah.
But it's not because he wanted to play at Ohio State. It's because there's a law in the books. The way NIL works is it's up to the state laws, right? The state law at the time in the state of Texas would not allow him to collect on an NIL deal while he was still a high school player.
Sure.
So he commits to Ohio State, gets the $1 million NIL deal,
yeah.
transfers back to Texas when he can collect the NIL there. You gotta love that.
That's just a good game plan.
Well, no, he did the thing is,
now that's a game plan.
Ewers was the shoe-in, but nobody knew Staudt was going to be as quarterback he is. Staudt will win the Heisman this year. I believe that, unless he gets hurt.
Well, the way he's going,
he's hot.
Last week I thought that was pretty strong.
Staudt might be the first guy selected in the first round. It'd be like Stroud, Bryce Young, and then Will Anderson junior from. That's what I think the draft order will be.
Tim says Texas is the best team in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Well, another team in Texas may have something to say about that. They're the undefeated Horned Frogs of Texas Christian.
They're underrated. People, I was going to say that when you said TCU.
When do they play each other?
November 12th.
Yeah,
and it's in Austin.
That's going to be. Sarkisian's done a really good job. They wanted Urban Meyer to be the head coach, and then if Urban, of course, went to Jacksonville, Sarkisian was their second or third choice. Sarkisian had to clean up his act, and Nick got him clean, and what he did there as offensive coordinator for 2 years. And you look at Bill O'Brien, and people are gassing him, but Bill O'Brien's done a really good job.
He has.
But when you have the players at Alabama, it's a fun deal to be the offensive coordinator there because you got 3 or 4 deep at every position, offensively and offensive line-wise.
All right. I got an update from Ann Arbor where Penn State took the opening possession down for a field goal. Big Ten, baby. They've regained the lead. 17-16 Nittany Lions in Ann Arbor with 13
left. Does it help
left.
Michigan State if Penn State beats Michigan today or not?
I don't think it. Does it matter? I mean, Michigan State's got to worry about Michigan State first, right?
Yeah, I mean, when they're going to say the Michigan State rivalry, what?
I don't know, but it sounds like McCarthy's finally going to have to play under pressure.
Well, in McNamara, I can't see him coming back. I tell you right now, not after what, some of the things that Jim said about him. He goes, he reminds me of me and this, that, and whatever. McNamara could go to half the schools in this country and be a starter right now.
Yeah, where will he be next year?
Tom says he could be the starting quarterback for your Fighting Irish of Notre Dame.
Is that right?
I was going to actually say, ND that's a good fit for him.
Sure, yeah. Let's look at other top 25
What if
coming
he
up.
just beats out McCarthy straight out and starts next year at Michigan?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean,
I'd tell McCarthy to rally and win today.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Man, you're right, though, Tim. When he went down a couple weeks ago, Tim said,
you got to get McNamara back.
No, yeah. I mean, you got to have 2 good quarterbacks.
It did
in
him a favor, though.
College and pro, but see, a lot of guys are saying, you know what, the hell with that. I'm leaving. I want to go play.
But imagine, this game's going on right now. We're not watching. I'm sure the crowd in Ann Arbor is getting angsty and upset that the offense isn't over the top like they've been expecting. So if McNamara were prowling those sidelines healthy, there might be a call.
No, there will be people saying that because people want to win at all costs.
To salute Dwayne Vernon, how about the strolling minstrel Spartans are back here? We can't get them inside the studio, but we can get them on campus. Come on in, boys. Do your thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll give them a few minutes to set up.
The repertoire, they don't have a lot of different songs, but there's one they do know real well.
Hey, did you guys know I'm an SMB alum? Yeah. I played trombone in the SMB. I was a trombone player. How about that?
Do you guys take
This guy was one of my professors in the J School back in the day. Good to see you, Bob. All right.
And you passed him?
Are you guys ready? Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, do your thing.
Is there any better way to go to break?
You guys knew that he was a band member.
Yeah, I'm one of you.
Yeah,
Why am I not? I should play my trombone.
Yeah, look how he made. Look what it did for him. You know.
All right, that'll take us. That's a great play. We can't top that. We're back in a couple minutes on the White Law PLLC Tailgate Show. Back
I think
after this.
They miss us. There's no question. They miss us.
Lansing 1240 WJIM Traffic Center. Driven by Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac. Relax and enjoy the Shaheen difference.
Taking a look at your traffic and weather one more time. Again, 496 eastbound, slower than normal between Waverly Road and the start of the road closure at Martin Luther King Boulevard. Between MLK and Penn on 496, both directions, that is closed. Take the posted detours in the area. That'll be inactive for several more weeks. You're coming in from the east to watch the game today. Grand River Avenue, both directions between Mohawk and Cornell Road, single-lane closure. That's for another couple of weeks. And just west of there, Okemos Road is closed at Grand River. and that's for another couple of weeks. Take the posted detours in those areas. Right now, 48 degrees, mostly cloudy, although the sun's peeking through right now. It'll be mostly sunny. It's going to clear up and be real nice this afternoon. Going to be cool, though. High temperature in the low 50s. Winds are at 15 miles an hour, gusting to around 25 miles an hour. Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac is sponsoring your game day travel update. Relax and enjoy the Shaheen difference.
This is the Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show on Lansing's Big Talker, 1240 WJIM, Classic Rock, 94.9 MMQ, and special game day edition of The Game, 7:30 a.m. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Whitelaw PLLC, Shaheen Chevrolet, Price Right Auto and RV, Blue Moon Belgian White, the official craft beer of MSU Athletics, and MSU Healthcare. Now, let's talk to the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, offensive-minded host, Beanie Howell, and a special guest appearance from David, the Mad Dog DeMarco, from the Price Right Auto and RV Studios.
Welcome back, Whitelaw PLLC Tailgate Show. The last segment here, last lap, a special homecoming edition of the show here on 1240 WJIM Lansing's Big Talker, Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ, and the game 7:30 a.m. live at the southwest corner of Spartan Stadium, right outside the press box area. Also brought to you by Blue Moon Belgian White, Dart Bank Mortgage Joe Sambear, Ameriprise Financial Craig Stiles, DBI We Do Office, High Caliber Karting and Entertainment, the Student Bookstore, the Nut House, and Gazelle Wealth Management. All right, real quick, before we wrap it up, we'll give our predictions here on Michigan State, Wisconsin. Take another look at Ann Arbor. It's still 17-16 Penn State ahead, about 13 minutes left last I saw in the third quarter. I know Tim is apoplectic because he had the Wolverines covering the 7.5. It's not looking so good right now. But, Tim, I just wanted to let you know I had some numbers that'll make you feel pretty good. Penn State under James Franklin versus ranked teams, 11-20. Penn State under James Franklin versus top 10 teams, 2-13.
Don't look at me. I took Michigan.
I don't.
Yeah, but you like Franklin.
9 straight losses in these top 10 games under James Franklin. In true road games versus the top 10, they're 0-7, 2-5 against the spread. That's good news for you.
I think the number that's more significant is 17-16 Penn State leads.
It definitely is.
It is.
That shocks me because listen.
What was the number? They're 7. They were getting
7.5.
Yeah, that's a good number.
There's almost a whole half to go, though.
Yeah, that's true. But it is still shocking because of this. Penn State's last 2 trips to Ann Arbor against a top 10 Michigan team, combined losing score 91-17.
Well, Michigan State's there to end it all.
They got 17 already today.
You know the problem with Alabama? I can't sports bet there. They don't even have lottery in Alabama.
Really?
Yeah. They don't even have lottery. You can't buy liquor on Sundays.
Well,
you can't buy liquor till 11:30 every day. Tim, you'd be in problems there.
You could have known all that before you moved on, or you never would have left.
No, it's good. It's a good. They have no bottle return. But yeah, I can't sports bet, and it really stinks.
That'll change.
It will change.
Might take a couple years.
On my podcast, I'm going to have down not too long. I'm going to be involved with some of the guys that used to come on the show. But, I miss sports betting a lot because, you know how to do it.
How you doing so far this year, Tim?
Well, there are a couple of these teams that are just so doggone hard to figure. I mean, and even the small, because I'm in a pool where you got to pick 10 games,
sure,
number them 1 to 10 on the confidence pool, and some of the loss. Well, just the other night, I mean, that team Marshall, who won at Notre Dame, lost at home to Louisiana. Given 10.5. I mean, explain that.
It's injuries.
Marshall wins at Notre Dame and loses at home to Louisiana for their third loss.
Yep. You know what else has really screwed this up is the transfer portal, especially early in the season. It's hard to handicap games anymore.
No, it is.
The rosters change over like the NFL now.
Like I said, the quarterbacks make such a difference. I really believed that Peyton Thorne would be a much better quarterback this year.
Me too.
You can blame it on this. You can blame it on that. Injuries, hey, man, this is the way it is. If he's injured, then don't play. I mean, if you're going to be a detriment to the offense, I mean, if he's that hurt, then he shouldn't play.
Got an update out of Ann Arbor where Michigan has scored and got a 2-point conversion. Ooh. They're now up 24-17. Just a hair from covering.
Half a point away from glory.
Penn State, 2nd and 2 on their own 33.
Although, what my 10-point game is this week? State getting 7.5.
Speaking of that, Solid transition.
You would think that, really. You would think that.
Yeah.
But then they could get beat by 3 touchdowns.
They could.
Yeah.
I mean, they could. I don't have them doing it, but I've gone by, ask Brock, I've gone by 5 words the whole year. They can't be that bad. That's been my in-depth analysis.
Let's dig in with some of that in-depth analysis on Michigan State and Wisconsin. Brock's back in the studio doing the Lord's work. Brock, hit us with a little bit of that On Wisconsin fight song to set the mood here and maybe piss off everyone in the area.
Seabush.
Anyway, let's do with
Jeff Hager, Seabush.
Let's get to our predictions here. Who wants to go first, the Dean or the Dog?
Let Dean. He's the elder statesman.
I've been ridiculed for saying State 31-13. I just think there's so many games that don't make any sense whatsoever, and I just think they're due to have a game today where Wisconsin just doesn't get it done. But I don't have many people that agree with that.
Dog?
I'll say 24-20, Michigan State.
Dean's was 31-13, palindrome score. Is Michigan State capable of scoring 31 points?
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Jim Leonard was a pretty good linebacker at Wisconsin. He played in the NFL. He's a defensive-minded coach. But then again, Tucker's a defensive-minded coach, and he's the cornerback coach, and they can't cover anybody.
Right. Shouldn't you be able to win by 18 points over a team that fired the coach 2 weeks ago? But maybe not.
I don't know.
I think they have better players than State, though, in a lot of key areas.
They do.
Well, look, they played much better last week. I think when Chris got fired, I think that hurt Michigan State's chances today because that rejuvenated Wisconsin. They like the guy who's there. I think they think this guy's their future, and they know if they want this guy to get the job, better win for him. And coming in here today and beating a team that's 2-4 with 4 straight losses is in disarray.
Yeah.
Beat them. All right. And then, Wisconsin kind of feels a little bit better about himself. So we'll see.
That's not lip service, what he just said. I'm in total agreement with what you just said. You in 26 years working with you, we only had a couple, and this is one of them because that's exactly correct. They're a rejuvenated team under Leonard's guidance.
Yeah, and there's that circle the wagons effect when you change coaches and all that.
That's correct.
I'm looking at the line here. Last I saw 7.5. I have a huge problem with that because until Wisconsin clobbered a really bad Northwestern team, I can't rationalize making them a 7.5 road favorite anywhere.
I can't either.
So why would that change anything? It's Northwestern. They're bad this year.
It's like a betting friend of mine said this week, somebody knows something in Vegas.
Good point, and let's talk about that.
Well, I mean, they're playing at home, but we saw that game against Minnesota, and it was like they didn't even show up. Are they going to show up? Is offensively and defensively. You both do the keys. Tim does keys. I do the keys.
Also today is they got to get off to a good start.
Yeah, that's what I said. They have to. The offense has to get off the schneid right at the beginning. They need to score a touchdown in the first sequence. They do.
How many times when they've played this season has it been automatic 4-down territory because they're so far behind?
That's right.
So they got to go for it.
And
the other thing is they got to have a game plan where actually running the ball means something as opposed to we got to throw it every down because we're so far behind. Right. They had 7 yards rushing against Ohio State, although that's a little misleading because there were so many sacks on Thorne. And by the way, it just takes one bad hit and he's out of there. I'm not quite the same on this Noah Kim because I don't know about him enough yet because all of his performance has been in garbage time.
It has been, but he's had the first string offensive line with him, but he does have enough experience.
However, if he struggles today, I would not be shocked if Kim
you got to
goes
go in another direction.
Let's talk about this though. This is one thing I don't think is getting enough play. Michigan State, I think, could have the wounded animal, dangerous kind of team effect because, and this is important, those players haven't quit. They have not quit.
No, they haven't. They haven't quit. And no players have gotten into trouble when they're not playing either.
Not yet.
That we know of.
I don't know, man.
We know of.
Not yet.
I hate to bring something out of the track, but that's factual.
This game is so damn hard to pick. Like, I want to say 7.5 is a crazy number and crazy value for Michigan State getting it at home on homecoming in like a sort of Custer's last stand.
He's got to get into Thorne's got to get into a rhythm. He's got whether he passes at the beginning, are they going to get Berger or Broussard? Are they going to get instead of and again we've asked where's Collins? Why isn't he playing? Go ahead. I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. It's hard. I want to take that. 7.5 seems like such great value for State at home with their back up against the wall because if they lose today, kiss a bowl game goodbye and those extra practices and all of that.
Yeah.
But there's this. They've lost 4 straight games by double digits.
They've gotten buried.
Yeah. So how can I pick them?
They got buried. The only thing you can in their column is homecoming. And because their backs are against the wall,
Yeah.
Wisconsin isn't a super-duper team. You compare them, both of them. If they were playing in Camp Randall, I'd say no way. But playing at Spartan Stadium could make a difference. And, these guys got to have a little bit of confidence.
Will the wind make a difference?
That's what I said. The weather.
But you don't know which way.
Yeah.
You just don't know which way. I know one thing, though. If this Behringer is punting downwind, I don't know what the NCAA record is for the longest punt. But if he's punting downwind with this wind.
His longest, I think, is 70.
And he's leading the nation.
Yeah, if he's punting downwind
he'll
today,
get the Ray Guy Award.
That's going to help his number.
Out of the Raiders.
I think I could contend for the Ray Guy punting downwind in this wind today.
You're an upwind guy.
All right, well, so you got Dave down for State, Tim down for State. I can't do it.
You got to go, man.
I gotta go Wisconsin 30-24.
Okay,
but
so
State covers.
Well, a lot of
That's
people
most
think
important.
that. There are a lot of people think that. A lot of people
You
Wisconsin
pick them.
winning.
I didn't hear it. How many majority go with Wisconsin?
No, it was pretty 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
It was, that surprised
And
me.
that's what ESPN, the thing is, it's about 50-50.
But that was an improvement over the Ohio State you pick them when 2 Michigan State people picked Michigan State. Everybody else picked the Bucks.
We're running out of time. I can't really hear I think the music just started, so I'll run down all the sponsors. Thank you to everyone making this possible. White Law PLLC, of course, the title sponsor of the White Law PLLC Tailgate Show. Price Right Auto and RV. Blue Moon Belgian White. Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac. MSU Healthcare Sports Medicine. Dowding Industries. Schupan & Sons Recycling Industrial Services. Gravity Smokehouse. MSU Federal Credit Union. Dart Bank Mortgage Joe Sambear. Ameriprise Financial Craig Stiles. DBI We Do Office. High Caliber Karting and Entertainment. The Student Bookstore. The Nut House. And Gazelle Wealth Management. Thanks so much to all of our great sponsors. Thank you to Tim for being here, the Dean of Sports. Thank you especially to David Mad Dog DeMarco for making
this was great, man. It's like deja vu. Not going there, but being here.
Good to hear you and see you again. Thank you to Brock Palmbush doing the Lord's work back in the studio.
Lord's work.
That'll do it for the White Law PLC Tailgate Show here live in the southwest corner of Spartan Stadium. We're back 2 weeks from today. There is no Tailgate Show. There's no game next week. It's a bye week. We don't know the time for the Michigan game, so just be planning for 3.5 hours before kickoff to 90 minutes before kickoff. That's when you hear us on 1240 WJIM and Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ. That's it for us today. Thanks for being here. Go Green.
This is the White Law PLLC Tailgate Show on Lansing's Big Talker, 1240 WJIM, Lansing.
Lansing's Classic Rock 94.9 WMMQ FM, East Lansing.
Game 7:30 a.m. WVFM,
East Lansing.
Town Square Media Stations.